You're listening to Straight No Chaser, the only show to quench your talk radio thirst. You're listening to Straight No Chaser, the only show to quench your talk radio thirst. Some programs dilute the issues. We only serve the hard stuff. Old school, new school. Grab a glass and welcome your hosts, the Chief, MBZ, and Pastor C.
Welcome, listeners, to Straight No Chaser, where we never dilute the issues. We only serve the hard stuff. I'm your girl, MBZ, and as always, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Pastor C.
Yeah. How you doing, MBZ?
I'm great, and the Chief.
What's going on?
And we also welcome our special guest and fourth co-host, Mr. Wendell, a.k.a. Thin Bad.
Hey, good to be here with you. How's everybody doing?
All is well, Brother Wendell.
Good.
So tonight we want to examine if parents should be monitoring their children or teenagers on social media and the internet.
Yeah.
So, with technology, you can't live with it, you can't live without it. And it just seems like we now do everything on the web. We pay bills, find love, attend church, and kids are no different from adults in that aspect. They spend hundreds of hours a week texting, tweeting, and surfing the web. And also, studies reveal that children spend more time on the internet than playing outdoors. What websites do your kids land on and how frequently? And who is your child communicating with online, on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, or the current social media flavor of the month, and what are they communicating? So again, the question of the day is, should parents monitor their children on social media, and why or why not? But before we get too deep, I want to remind the audience that you can call in at 702-425-7789 or chat with us live. Either way, we want to hear from you. So, Pastor C, Thin Bad, Chief, what is your position on the whole era of technology and how children and teenagers are using it?
Well, statistics show that technology evolves every so often. It is pretty rapid in this particular day and time. Now, I'm going to speak from the position of being a parent, and I'm going to say you are absolutely right that me as a father should monitor my children on social media. I have a college student, and she's in college. And so every now and again, I will check her page, not so much as to what she's posting, which is very important, but I want to see the comments. I want to see who she's interacting with, because social media today is being used in a good way, but also there are some negative connections with it as well. And so I just believe as a parent that I don't want to allow my child or my children to be so liberal that they are naive as it relates to what can go on this in this cyber world. And so as a parent, you are right. I feel like we need to make sure that we monitor our children's Snapchat, Facebook, and different things. I remember MySpace. You guys remember MySpace? That's a long time ago. Right.
The music on your page.
Right. The MySpace page and stuff. And so I'm sure that my children will not agree with what I'm saying right now. As a matter of fact, they told me I could not get a Snapchat, and that's fine. However, if there is something happening, every now and again, I will ask them, hey, let me see your Snapchat. Who are you communicating with? And I gave them the rules of engagement before I allowed them to have.
Wait a minute, Pastor C. Did you say MySpace?
I did. I'm sorry, Chief. I said MySpace, and I will go on record live and say that I had a MySpace page. And Ambeezy, you know you had a MySpace page.
And see, you know, that's the thing, though, because when social media first came out and started popping like that, you know, it was very common. I swear, I was around 11 years old when that stuff started coming out. And, you know, I think the minimum age to even have accounts like that was like 13.
Right.
So everybody lied about their age. Like everybody would either lie about their age to sign up for Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, whatever it was. But I remember when social media first started coming out like that, the show To Catch a Predator was very, very prevalent.
I remember
and
that.
so I remember even on certain websites like Disney, they made it a big thing like, oh, you have to make sure you get your parents' permission before you get on this website and stuff like that. So I really feel like when it was time for my generation to start getting online and on social media, it was like we had that conversation about internet literacy and internet safety and all of that stuff. Like we kind of had that conversation. It just seems like nowadays, you know, parents are just giving their 6-year-olds iPads and they're just kind of free to go. Like I see it all the time. People are at Chick-fil-A giving their kids iPads and it's like they're not really watching them. They just know that their kids are quiet. So I don't really know if monitoring the social media is the solution or if it's just kind of getting into that mode of teaching online etiquette. Like what I feel like if those conversations were had a little bit more often, especially with this next generation, like these 12, 13-year-olds that look like 18, 19-year-olds.
Sure.
Things would be slightly different because a lot of parents get outraged over their kids being sexualized or over their kids cursing and seeing certain content, but it's only because these kids have been exposed to this much younger, so they just behave on these social media apps like they see everybody else behave.
Right, but see, as a parent though, I feel like my child can interact and engage in something and not necessarily comply to the behaviors of the popular or the majority. And so, you know, social media is not bad. And Brother Wendell, I want you to chime in here.
Right.
Social media is not bad. I just feel like with anything, it depends on who's using it and whose hands it falls in.
Definitely.
How do you feel about that, Brother Wendell?
Right. Yeah, definitely. Because, you know, I've got, you know, looking at it as a parent as well. And parent of one 18-year-old and one 10-year-old. So the one is watching what the other one is doing, and it's almost and when your parents are working and the kids are at school, it's almost like your cell phone is like the new latchkey. Remember, latchkey kids, your phone is something that's got apps that can tell you where your child is. So again, as Pastor C was saying, there's the good side of technology, but then with everything that's good, there's always someone on the other side trying to exploit the bad pieces. But there's no way around it, and it's almost like you have the same conversation around social media and the use of social media that you have, you know, around kids going out on their own. You got to have that conversation about responsibility, because now they've got, you know, we used to have to catch the bus to the library to get what they have in their hand all the time.
Absolutely. Yes.
And it's right there. So I think if you have, as parents, if you have the conversations, because there's no way around that. You've got to be able, you have to have an open line of communication between parent and child, and there has to be that trust, that respect, and that responsibility, so that they know what to do, they know what's expected of them, and if not, you shut it down. You shut it down like anything else.
But my thing is this. I feel as if we do not allow our children to engage in those avenues of communication, that they'll be antiquated. So
Definitely.
I think that
Right.
I think that education here is the thing for us to educate them and have a relationship where we're open and where we're honest. And I think the true problem is some parents and children don't have that relationship, and that's why children can go so far off on social media. And so who they are in person is not who they are
online,
on the internet.
Exactly.
You know,
that's right.
I mean, you have kids who in church and they got these pictures of themselves, and they're showing their cookies and goodies and you know. I know.
I don't even want to think about that.
Straight no chaser, Chief, right? And so
That's right. That's
I
pretty.
hear you, man.
No, you should see it. These 12, 13-year-olds are wilding out here on social media. And, you know, like, I saw this episode of Catfish where this guy was trying to find this girl that he was talking to on social media, and they got to the house and the mama was waiting at the door like, oh, I know you ain't looking for my daughter. And it's like, dude, your daughter has been saying she's 19 years old, 20 years old, and looks it because of all, you know, we're also in the YouTube era. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the young girls are younger, wearing all the makeup and doing the hair tutorials and all that stuff. And so it's like it's so much harder to save your kids from situations like that when they are really over sexualizing themselves at such a young age.
And that's why the education is important. Now, Chief and Brother Wendell, I got to ask you guys a question. And Chief, you are a former police officer. You have access to background checks and different things.
And I got hired anyway.
You got right. And so, you know, you have a college student. You know, at what point do you guys think and feel that monitoring is not necessary? Do you think that there should be some type of interaction with the parent and the child for forever, or is there a ceiling, or is there a time frame? How long do you think we should monitor our children's action on social media?
Well, you know, legally, you after 18, your child is an adult. Uh-oh. However, we all know that there are some 18-year-olds that behave like 12-year-olds. So it really depends on the child. But I will say this, it's before age 18, I think parents need to be as nosy as possible. I think particularly when we're looking at the suicides that have happened because of cyberbullying and with the last couple of school shootings, there was information in the social media world that may have prevented these situations, and I even remember the Baltimore riots. There was information all over social media that this was happening. Now, maybe had a few parents seen that, they may have prevented something, who knows, but the information was there. So I think it's so important that parents are on top of this. And number one, you're paying the bills. Mm-hmm. It's your child, and that's just the way you have to lay it down. Now, I know there'll be those arguments, discussion, poke lips, all that other kind of nonsense, because you're asking for passwords and you are looking over shoulders and all those other types of things. But it has to happen.
I agree. What about you, Brother Wendell?
Yeah, you know, the thing is that parenting doesn't change. I think you have to parent as you would as MVZ was saying. You know, a lot of parents though are using iPads and the like and this technology as babysitters. Right. They kind of set you off on the side and here's an app and they think they're doing something if they give them an educational app. But when they're looking at educational apps, well, when you talk to tell you that child's going to be overstimulated because there's no way that I can teach in a way that is going to hold the attention of the child the same way that iPad is. So now you've got other issues as well. But getting back to your point about how long do you keep watch? Well, like I said, I've got an 18-year-old. She's off to college. So she's kind of doing her thing. I watch her where I can. You know, she'll let me. I say, can I friend you, you know, if I wanted, she'll let me, but I know there's probably another one. I don't even want to friend her really, because I know she's probably got something else. Yeah, I said, hey, can I friend you? But, you know, I'm expecting her to say dad or give me some pushback, but I already know that godmom and all that, they are already friended.